Because I just did everything that's going.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite one.
Oh, yeah.
Gadol Elohai Shiru ki gadol Elohai Kol echad yireh ki gadol Elohai.
So we'll gather up these steps right here. I'm gonna go check one other spot. I'd like to get away from all the Catholics. Sorry, because I'd like to sing. So we'll just see. We'll just gather here, and I'm gonna check one spot. I'll be right back, but we can all just gather
They
here.
just told a bunch of people they're wearing shorts and sleeveless shirts, so
They're not letting them in because
Yeah.
of shorts and no sleeves.
You serious?
Well, that's what they said.
So it should be able to work, right? Unless I'm connected to the Wi-Fi. If it works, it means it's going.
If we get yelled at,
Yeah.
Mike Eugene. Oh, no stopping.
Well, at least you probably can see me. I have another song. I'll have a whole you'll have a song of what.
It's better anyway. Yes, it is. What's that? Oh, GoPro. Your GoPro. Whoa. Wait, what? Are you doing stuff right now? Mm-hmm. What? It's on. It's
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. It's taking it all in. I don't want to miss anything. You know?
Yeah. The bananas.
These bananas.
Yeah, they come on with tarps.
Think about the person who has to put that on them, right?
Yeah.
Times.
The people, the multiple. Oh, we about to go live. Assim, ó. Como é que ela pode assim? Ai, Jesus. Ô, Pai. Ô, Jesus.
Tem gente que faz tanto.
Então,
Eu também tô com tanto livro.
Kim, this is what I mean, like ladders and
yeah. Yeah.
like
I know. Yeah. Yeah, that, like that.
they would in America.
Yeah. It's danger, yeah.
She's calling you.
What's that?
Every time I come looking, I'm like,
bit like all right, so come on in. That might be awkward.
Okay.
I just thought it was kind of close, but
Go on in, scooch in. We should be able to fit.
beat the rush.
Right.
I'm just fixing your tag. Sorry.
I think the main thing is I want to be able to see the sea. And so if you can't see the sea, maybe kind of scooch around, try to get a good view. And we do have plenty of benches if you're feel like a sardine. We can spread out a little bit more too. This is the first time. Today was the first time you saw the sea, right?
Yeah.
Pretty special, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I love coming just over that hill that we came over and seeing it in full view. Obviously, we'll get down there and explore. I think might be tomorrow that we take a boat out there. A boat? Yeah. My favorite place, honestly, in the world, just because of all the history, all the biblical effects that's happened around here. I love to imagine is Omer. We'll see him later on today, but it's Omer who said, he told me, I asked him why they call it a sea. He was like, it's a lake. Why they call it the sea? He said, well, the legend is that when the Israelites first came into the land, they saw this, and they've never, other than the Red Sea, they've never seen like a lake, Egypt, this big of a lake, and so they called it a sea because they've never seen anything as far as that big outside of a sea. Nazareth, where we stayed last night, is just back here, and Capernaum is not too far from where we're at right now. So you imagine Jesus his first time coming into starting his ministry. He would have walked between, if you can see that cliff a little bit, kind of jets down. You call that Mount Arbel is right over here. There'd been like a little road. That road still exists, still a path there that you can walk, that Jesus would have walked from Nazareth down into.
Morning, Andrea. Morning, Rich.
Good morning, Carissa. No, you didn't.
Retake.
It's great to have people talking in it.
Yeah.
Don't want a silent film.
Oh.
Well, how come whenever I talk to you, tell me this stuff?
Oh, well, because he's doing like offensive stuff.
offensive stuff?
Yeah.
You mean I can't be offensive?
Well, other people can.
I can't. You can't separate yourself from it.
He's like making all these like weird noises that like Muslim would do.
Oh, there's another fire here.
Oh wow.
Wow.
We're going.
Was that like the vandals or was that
No,
it was
a
an
fire.
accident?
It was a fire that they. Oh, I see. Arson?
Yeah.
Arson?
Yeah, was it arson or was it
I
it
don't know.
Is that
accidentally?
part of your documentary right now?
Yeah, yeah.
What we've seen
Yeah.
here,
What we've seen here
I'm
and our
standing in front of
investigated findings.
standing in front of the monastery, or possibly.
It was that one that.
There's this one guy we watch, Ray Vanderland. He's like, he does like a lot of like
He does a
Israel
lot of these things.
things, but he'll always say like, this possibly could have been where Jesus was. We're not positive, we're not sure, but could be quite,
type D.
not maybe, maybe some. We don't know for
I don't
sure.
think so, personally.
Yeah, like a type D. It's like
Really not good. Not close. I'm trying not to be an ugly American. Last night was not good.
yeah, no,
We were
it wasn't.
Oh wait, where?
Oh wait, where were you? What did you guys do? Did you go to the club or something?
Oh, okay. When the guy was beeping the horn about precipice,
Oh yeah, yeah.
coming off the bus, I'm like,
Yeah.
beep your own horn.
Oh,
I didn't do that. But
yeah.
I wanted to.
Oh,
like,
you wanted to.
The old me would have been like, come here, beep your horn me now. But, not good.
Well, you can't
good in
stop
a
being who
foreign
you are, right?
True, but I could also filter it. Right? I could hold back.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
But at the.
We've
on
had
the
a few
sixth-
of those
yeah.
moments.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I did good last night either. At the 6th floor. And I wasn't even drinking. Wait, are you still rolling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is all
Yeah.
on tape.
Just don't show it.
I won't. Yeah. It's not going on
They're like,
Facebook
"Who's
or
talking?
anything.
Don't worry.
These are
about
like for home viewing parties.
it." She wasn't with our group.
Oh yeah, that's good.
We don't know who she was.
We don't know who she was. Some errant person, just like wanted to be in the video audio. How rude. Yeah. But she doesn't have a picture of me, so that's
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But she got to use the men's bathroom. Oh, and I got to use my French because it's like, en français, c'est tout le monde. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what do you know?
Oh, is the bathroom?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
George got some. I'll live here, dude.
One more reason for the importance of the discovery of this
This is the
gate,
first
not
time I've
only
seen
its
this.
old age,
This-
not
this
only
is
the
cool.
fact
This
that
is
it's
recent
made
to
out of mud bricks, but also the fact that they thought that in those days the arches didn't exist yet. And this is actually one of the most ancient arches ever found in the world, especially here in the Middle East, the Levant, where they consider it to be one of the cradles or one of the areas where humanity, civilization as we know it, began. Okay, we have to understand that when we are talking about civilization and the beginning of it, we are very Eurocentric. Okay, we are very much centered in the Western culture as we know it. And then again, every once in a while we are reminded that in China, in India, in the Far East, things were much more advanced and even earlier than we know it here in the Western world. So every time we have to relax a little bit and be a little bit more humble about how we are the important part and all the rest are just, like they're around us somewhere. No. There are different cultures that evolved in different parts of the world, and we're not necessarily the pioneers, the first ones, the inventors of everything. Okay?
The city of Dan, it's mentioned in scripture quite a bit. In Genesis 14:14, it says that Abraham probably would have came through here when he went to rescue Lot and Joshua, but also Judges is mentioned. But one of the more famous stories that you might have read is actually in 1 Kings, when Solomon's son Rehoboam, he didn't rule with wisdom like his father, and so the kingdom gets split. And you have northern Israel, where we are, and then there's southern Israel, which is Judah. Where Jerusalem is, Rehoboam, Solomon's son, he ruled in the south, but Jeroboam, he ruled in the north. And what Jeroboam did is he decided to make these two golden calves, Baals. And one of those golden calves was actually put right up here. And so this would have been an altar where they would have worshipped this Baal.
Hey, Denham, so sorry. It's like behind there a few walls. So I pointed,
It's a ways back there.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's
my fault. I told you. No, it's way back there.
got the idea. And so what Jeroboam is trying to do is he basically lays out this laid out in Jerusalem. So he's trying to copy Yahweh, of the true God. And so Jeroboam, he's trying to steal the faith in Yahweh and introduce a familiar God, because we know that Baal was worshipped quite a bit. But if you have your Bibles in 2 Kings chapter 10, verses 23 to 27, just over this wall is this exact thing happened. It says, then Jehu, he went to the house of Baal with Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, and he said to the worshippers of Baal, search and see that there's no servant of the Lord here among you, but only the worshippers of Baal. Then they went in to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now Jehu had stationed 80 men outside and said, the man who allows any of those who I give into your hands to escape shall forfeit their life. So as soon as he made an end of offering the burnt offering, Jehu said to the guard and to the officers, go in and strike them down to the sword. And the guard and the officers cast them out and went into the inner room of the house of Baal, and they brought out the pillar that was in the house of Baal and burned it. And they demolished the pillar of Baal and demolished the house of Baal and made a latrine to this day. So that's crazy to think. Just over this wall, just over here, this used to be a place of worship and it was being destroyed. So, pretty cool thing.
Turn it into a bathroom.
Yeah, turn it into a latrine. Yeah, great. Great.
Thank
That
you.
was Second Kings what?
That was 2 Kings chapter 10. Yep. 2 Kings chapter 10, verses 23 to 27. Awesome. Well, Caesarea Philippi. One of the main questions for Jesus' ministry was, man, who exactly was this guy? Well, we know he was a good person, but was he God? Was he a prophet? Was he John the Baptist, the spokesman? This is a question that people wrestle with a lot. As a matter of fact, I think it's a question that people still wrestle with today. And this is what people wrestled with as they came to hear Jesus teach. And it's here that Jesus, he actually makes even his disciples, and especially Peter, wrestle with this question. And what a place to do it, like Junior said. I mean, this would have been a place where people from all over would come to worship these idols, and they would bring their gods. And it's cool, as you get up there, you're going to see etched into the caves or into the rock side are these little slots where people would have put these idols. But of course, that's not why Jesus came here that one day. It would have been a day like today, a beautiful sunny day, and Jesus, he would have came walking to the Sea of Galilee with his 12 disciples up the hillside over the plain. And as they got closer, they could see more and more of these people making their journey up here to worship these gods. And when they approach this area, it gets more difficult for the 13 of them to walk together, because as we get up there, you'll see it's super crowded. But nonetheless, they follow Jesus up some stairs, along the rock wall, and through the gallery of these gods. And these are all kinds of different gods. I mean, you had Apollos, you had every single kind of god. And then Jesus, he stops, and he turns to his disciples and he looks at them, and he says, "But who do you say I am?" I mean, there's all these gods etched in this rock, but who do you say I am? And the conversation that takes place here in Matthew 16, verses 13 through 20, it says, "Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked the disciples, 'Who do people say the Son of Man is?' And they say, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. And he said to them, 'But who do you say that I am?' And Simon Peter replied, he said, 'You're the Christ, the Son of the living God.' And Jesus answered him, 'Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.' Then he strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ." And I mean, I love that because Jesus, he brings his disciples up here, and I love that Junior talked about that. He uses this imagery, right? But there's all these false gods, and there Jesus is the true God. And he asks his disciples, "Who do you say I am?" And I want you to think about that question, especially as we go up today. And for some of us, I mean, obviously we're followers of Jesus, but maybe for some of us, we're not. That's a good question. And Jesus asks us, "Who do you say that I am?" And so let me pray for us. God, thank you so much for this time that we get to come here. And I thank you that you are the Son of God who came here and you died for us. And thank God, it's amazing. I can't even wrap my head around this. It's crazy to be here to walk where you walk. And this is a blessing. So I pray that as we go up here, God, that this will be a special time for us where we get to reflect on that question that you asked your disciples. Who do you say that I am? So God, we love you. We thank you. We pray this all in Jesus. Amen.
That this is the worship place for Pan, okay, the god of the shepherds, the god of the workers here in this area.
Who am I? Let's talk about that. You know.
And so you need to
Let's have that conversation.
Like he can share that. Okay, you win.
Right. Last time I checked, I didn't see any of them turn water into wine and make the blind man see and the lame man walk. Who do you think?
בואו נשתות.
למה קוראים למעיינות האלה מעיינות הבניה? למה? כי המקדש הזה של האל פן. היוונים לא האמינו כמונו שיש אלוהים ואלוהים אחד. יש מיכאל הרבה אלים.
כן, שהיא אמרה לי, חזק.
מי אמר? מורן שאלה אותה אם
כולם, בואי תראי איזה חור. אולי יש שם משהו.
I'm gonna walk in your crib. Y'all make
February when we showed a sermon. My dad spoke in front of this cave right here, all about the gates of Hades. In fact, Paul Hart just reminded me of this. He has it up on his phone. That right there is called a nickname for it is the gates of Hades. So that when Jesus says the gates of hell will not prevail against it, you have another illustration of that right there.
No, thank you.
It's crazy to see it.
Kevin, you just picture like where the conversation had to be within this area.
Well, it says Caesarea Philipi.
Yeah. 450 שנה. אבי נסחף בשביל. אתה רוצה לרדת? הסתכלו על... מה אתה רוצה? שזה נורא
the goddess of revenge.
Where's Karen?
What?
Is anybody?
Caesarea Philipi. Temple for pagan gods.
See, that, to me, that's why that Mount Hermon makes more sense.
That's right here.
Yeah.
And the Hermon River.
Yeah.
Over here. So you can just imagine by the amount of different temples that it's kind of shift was really a pagan worship center. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I didn't want to get in the way of your shot.
Oh, you're fine.
I'll find you. I saw one with the nut and stone side. Yeah. Here you go.
Is that cave closed up? Does it lead anyone?
This cave? No, it's just a cave. Yeah.
Done. By the way, Gamla, Gennesaret is garden, right? Gennesaret. What's that? Oh, very good. What did you say? I missed that. That was good.
I got it.
We got it on film.
This is, by the way, Gamla is one of the most family-oriented national parks in Israel. You'll see tons of families here. Really, really nice place. And lots of in the winter time.
Okay, John, make some room here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's more or less the story. But it's a very important page in the history of Israel.
That says we just did a reenactment of the Red Sea crossing the Red Sea.
Someplace.
As you look now to your right, as you walk, you see remains of a village. This is new. This is 12th century. That's a new village right over there. That's not what we need. It's a village from the medieval times. We don't care much about it. We care about that thing right there on the left.
Whoa.
So as we are walking, you'll see a very deep ravine on the left, which is called Daliot Creek. And there's a big cliff with a huge city on it. That is Gamla. Today it's a little hazy, but Sea of Galilee is right in front of us. You see that big, well, blue thingy. That's the lake. Blue thingy, that's not a good thing. In a month from now, by the way, all of this is lush green.
Wow.
Like Ireland. I'm not kidding. In 1 month. Mm-hmm. So at the end of this trail, we're going to turn left. And there's like a small amphitheater. That's where we're going to sit and look at the city, and we're going to explain all about it. Last time I was here with the Zigglers, it was so foggy we couldn't even see the engine.
Wow. Yeah. This is perfect.
Yeah. The end of the path, take the left turn. That little hut, and that's where we're gonna sit.
Yeah. Wow.
Alright. So guys, we have stairs here that you can sit right here, and the steps going down on the left side. Okay, the smaller steps, the bigger steps are benches. No, okay. What do you know about this place? What else I know? The Romans destroyed the city. She's excited. Jesus was one of the main teachers of this city. Uh-huh. Yeah, and Allah says that his name was not Jesus, his name was Yeshua. In Hebrew, of course. You want to say anything else? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So the Romans came in a day after. Uh-huh. After the city slide on them, we're going to explain which is right. We're going to explain all about it, yeah. Because the Jews undermined the city, yeah. Next morning the Romans came back. After the Jews thought they won. The Jews who remained jumped from that cliff into their death and they died. And the name of the city Gamla is because it looks like a camel hand. And Gamal in Hebrew is camel. Like that, Gamla. She thought I was going to call it Dabsha because Dabsha is a hump. It's not a camel. That's a part of a camel. That doesn't look like a camel. And Jesus called it the city on the hill. It's one of the reasons why the city slept, because it was built on a hill. No? Very good. Yeah. So again, this is Ella's 10,000th time here, but very good job. Really? Yeah. So we are now in Gamla, as Ella said. By the way, our home is right behind this hill. The next ridge, that's our home. So you are now in the south part of the Golan, which in the Bible time that was not called Golan. This is Galilee. We're in the Galilee. Okay? Golan was basically divided into two sections. South part was Galilee. North part was Philippus. You guys were this morning at Caesarea Philippi. That's Philippus. But Golan here is Galilee. What did Jesus do in the Galilee? What Jesus did in Galilee? What did he do here? Preach where? Around the Sea of Galilee. But where in the Sea of Galilee? Around the Sea of Galilee. Where? Capernaum. To the villages. Where in the villages? Synagogues. The Bible clearly says that. He went and preached in their synagogues. Their synagogues is both sides of the lake, because this is Galilee as well. All right? Now, something quite amazing. We read about the feeding of the multitude. I'm talking about the Jewish multitude, not the pagan. The pagan multitude was after Legion. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. But the feeding of the multitude. Think about it. How many people estimated to be in that feeding? Give or take. Thousands, right? Thousands upon thousands. Okay? You've been to, well, you haven't been to the villages yet, but you will see tomorrow Capernaum, you will see Magdala. They're not huge villages. So where exactly the multitude came from? They didn't drive on a highway 6, just zoom from Jerusalem to see Jesus. They couldn't drive, right? So when you have this great rabbi, because that's how the Bible calls Jesus, he called him a rabbi. Even in Latin, Aramaic, which is Maranatha. Maranatha. Maranatha, the teacher is coming. Maran, teacher. Okay? Jesus was a teacher. So when Jesus taught and the multitude came, where did they came from? All over. But there were two feeding. One, we know where they came from. They came from the Decapolis. Decapolis are big cities. You're going to see Corsi tomorrow from my home. You'll see Beit Shean, huge cities. But the other feeding, also of the thousands, were Jews. But those cities were not big. Tiberias was not a Jewish city, it was a pagan city. So where are the multitude coming from?
Little towns.
The big town, Gamla. Gamla was the capital of the Galilee. Gamla was a very large city in any scale during the time of Jesus, in any scale. If you look straight, you see how the Sea of Galilee bends. You see that? See that curve in the lake? Okay? In the middle of the curve, that is Bethsaida. Next to it to the left, that is Capernaum. Next to that to the left, that is Mount of Beatitudes. Next to that, that is Gennesaret. Next to that, that is Magdala. Okay? So most of the Jewish villages on the lower side of the Galilee were right in that mouth over there. If you look carefully, you see how this ravine goes down in a very easy path from here down to the Sea of Galilee. There's not a lot of difference in elevation. I'm not talking where we stand. I'm talking about the river below us. This is the river of Gamla. It's a running water river. Okay? So the main route was leading between the big city of Gamla, huge city of Gamla, to the villages down below us. The feeding of the multitude, where did that took place? In which part of the lake? Was it south or was it north?
North.
North. Which side is that?
North.
Where the multitude came from? Here? Here? So, let's dive even deeper. Everybody see down below, it's hard because of the sun. Bear with me. You see the hump, right? Everybody see the hump, okay? Go down from the hump, you see a silhouette of a tower. See that round tower? Okay. Next to it to the left, go down. The wall goes down. There's a huge square building. Everybody see that?
Yes.
That is the synagogue of Gamla. Okay. Tomorrow you'll be in Magdala. Magdala looks exactly the same, only about 20% the size of it. This is the largest, oldest synagogue in the world. Now, there are two kinds of archaeologists in Israel. There's the minimalist and the maximalist, right? The minimalists, they go with a Bible in one hand, a shovel in the other hand. They dig and they say, if I found that is not what it says in the Bible. These are the minimalists. The maximalists do exactly the same thing. They walk with Bible in one hand, a spade in the other. They dig the truth out of the ground. So just to summarize it, the maximalist, if he walks like a duck and he quacks like a duck, it's a duck. The minimalist, if he walks like a duck and he quacks like a duck, it's a dragon. All right? I'm proud to say that we belong to the maximalist side, and I'm even more proud to say that out of every single biblical era site in Israel, how many of them do you think contradict the Bible? Zero. None contradict the Bible. We have sites that the Bible don't talk about them. The biblical era, but the Bible doesn't speak about them, but none of them contradict the Bible. So let's go back to what we saw here. We have a major synagogue that was built during the time of the temple. The temple still exists. This is the beginning of the 1st century AD. This is the largest city in the Jewish city in the Galilee. Now, we know for a fact that Jesus preached in the synagogues of the Galilee. We are at the largest synagogue in the Galilee. Can we assume that Jesus preached here? And if he came here and he preached here, can we assume why the multitude came from here? Can we assume that one of the largest first communities to follow Jesus' teaching was right here in Gamla? All right? Let's jump a little bit forward. Right across on the other side is the Mount of Beatitudes. Matthew 5. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. When you're standing Mount of Beatitudes and you're looking at Gamla, you see the hump, but you don't see the city. Why? Because the city is facing this way. See? The city is on the slope this way. If you're going to be on the other side, you won't see it. You see a hill, but that's it. So let's review again what Jesus says to the disciples. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. And he pointing at Gamla. It's an actual city. It's also a metaphor, of course, of if you put the lamp under the ephod, yes. But it's an actual city. And why does Jesus point at Gamla? From all the cities, why he points at Gamla?
Because not only is it on a hill, but it's also hidden by this ravine. So if you're at the lake, you might point there and say, you can't see the city, but you can see the light coming from it.
And who lives in that city? The multitude. Exactly.
The whole town, right.
Exactly. We are all programmed to think about, Chorazin. Woe to you, Chorazin. We're programmed to think about Capernaum. We're programmed to think about Gennesaret. We're programmed to think about Magdala. Great. But where are the multitude? Right? If you take the entire population of all those villages together, you're going to get 500 people on a donkey on a good Sunday. So where are the feeding? These are the feeding right here. All right? So people came from all over the Galilee. Who were the biggest? We're going to talk about it tomorrow in Capernaum. Who were the biggest? I'm going to use that word. Who were the biggest enemies of Jesus? Not the Pharisees. The leaders of the Pharisees. Who were the disciples? Pharisees. Who were the multitude? Pharisees. Who are the people who greeted Jesus calling Hosanna, Hosanna? It's the Pharisees. Why did the leaders of the Pharisees hated Jesus so much?
It's a threat to their power.
Exactly. By what way?
He was making them accountable for what they were doing.
He was making them accountable for what they were doing. Absolutely. What else? Every answer is correct. Throw it. Come on. Seriously. They couldn't pass on rules and laws. Absolutely. What did he say about, how did he describe those leaders of Pharisees? Hypocrites. What day is it today? Sabbath. What's more important, Sabbath to man or man to Sabbath? If a lamb falls into the pit, you really want to tell me you're not going to take them out? Seriously? Hypocrites. Beware of those who dress nicely and pray out loud, for they have the seed of Moses. But they don't really practice. They just show. They're just showing from the outside. Now, the problem is that he spoke the truth. That's why he was so much loved. The leaders of the Pharisees said, okay, that's a big problem. Because this is a great rabbi that everybody knows about him. Do you know of another rabbi who came into Jerusalem, was greeted with palm trees, and everybody called Hosanna, Hosanna? Anyone? Rabbi Gamliel maybe? Sanhedrin? Anyone? Nobody. He was one of the most beloved rabbi in the history of Judaism. His teaching is echoing until today. We use that phrase all the time. What is more important, man to Sabbath or Sabbath to man? Until today. The differences between the Rabbinical Institute in Israel and the non-Rabbinical Institute in Israel is exact same debates 2,000 years later. Again, he was one of the greatest rabbis God has ever sent. All right? So when you read between the lines, and this is the meaning, and this is the reason of doing a study tour. You know, we look at Bible, at this holy book, way up there, not to be touched. Touch it, feel it, dive into it. Because David was a king, but he was also a lover. He was not the best friend. He was a military genius. Saul betrayed the way of God, but he was a tragic character. He was a poor guy at the end of the day. He never even wanted it. So when you strip away the titles, you know, the fluff around it, and you put it in your eye level, people are people are people. Just think about it. You guys are staying in Nazareth, all right? Just to give you a small tool. What is the biggest thing that we have today that they in the Bible did not? What is a big advantage that we have that they didn't?
The whole thing.
The whole thing, which means we know how it ends. Yes. Imagine Joseph is coming back to his house in Nazareth. His wife, not even his wife, Mary, is pregnant. She said, Joe, welcome home. I'm pregnant, not from you, from the Holy Spirit. Makes sense. Jesus is going playing soccer with the boys. I'm the Son of God. Makes sense. Absolutely. We know how the story ends. They didn't. So to understand, what does Jesus say about if someone is picking on you? What does he say? Turn your cheek. This kid was picked on tremendously in the little pathetic village of Nazareth. That you've seen that, right? You've been there. You saw the caves. You haven't seen it? No, not yet. Forget it. I didn't say anything. You'll see. Nothing much to see. Nothing good can come out of Nazareth. That's not my words. That's not my words. So when you gathering all of this together, you start to understand Jesus' way of teaching. How does the Bible describe Jesus? His teaching of what? Of one of
authority,
and not one of
the scribe.
Who is the biggest scribe in the New Testament? He says that I'm the Pharisee of Pharisees.
Oh, Paul.
Paul. What is the difference between a scribe and one of an authority?
The scribe's basically taking dictation.
Thank you. Exactly right. Scribe is someone that the great professor is teaching him. He dictates what that professor says, and he basically, he repeats it like a parrot. That's the scribe. One of an authority is someone who understands it from within, from underneath. How Jesus was able to communicate with so many people. I'm talking about earthly reason. You saw Tzipori. What did Jesus saw as a child in Tzipori? What did he see?
Faith.
He saw faith. What else did he saw? He saw rich people. He saw poor people. He saw Greeks. He saw Romans. He saw Latins. He saw Jews. Samaritans. Why? Tzipori was a center of trade. Taking him back here as an adult, here to the Sea of Galilee, he is now, one of his biggest ministries will be here in Gamla, but there's another city next to us called Hippos, Susita. This is where he met Legion. You'll see it tomorrow. This is where he met Legion and the miracle of the swines. But then who Jesus speaks to on the other side? To who? To the Jews or to the non-Jews?
Non-Jews.
To the non-Jews. How can he speak to the non-Jews? Because what?
He's reaching out to everybody. He's including everybody.
Yes, but how does he know what to tell them? How? He came from a little pathetic little village of Nazareth. How does he know to speak to his audience? Yeah, I'm talking earthly. I'm talking earthly. Tzipori. You saw today, right? It was today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. You saw the mosaics. He knew the Greek mythology by heart. Not that he studied it, he actually fixed it. When he was with Joe. You know? If you have a leaky roof, call Joe. Right? Same. How much business you think Joe had in Nazareth? How much leaky roof you can fix in a cave, right? It's not Tzipori, yes. So Jesus accumulated all this knowledge, all this understanding, and he was submerged in scriptures as a child, because half of the Old Testament is right beyond those hills. It's Joshua, it's Elijah, it's Ahab, Jezebel, Omri, the Philistines, Saul, David, everybody. Got all the judges on that side. So as a child, he saw those stories right in front of him. Like Ella knows very, very well that Jesus taught here. This is her home. Now I ask you, do you understand why the Bible said he taught as one of an authority and not as one of the scribes? Unlike Paul, Gamaliel never dictated him what to say. He understood it for himself because it was here. He grew up here. You understand that. And that's why when you have someone that comes from the same value and the same level of understanding as you are, you have a much more commonality than some scribe who dictates upon you. And that's another reason why the leaders of the Pharisees hated Jesus. Because he came from underneath. He didn't come from above. No one dictated. No one parachuted him. Okay?
Come through the system.
He came through the system, yes. Exactly right. When he's coming and everybody is cheering, Maranatha, the master is coming, he's one of us. He's not this Sanhedrin guy that has the seat of Moses. He's one of us. He was talking exactly to the people in the level and the language that they understood. And I'm not talking Hebrew or Aramaic right now. To the level that they understood. That's why he was so much loved. Let's go back again to Gamla. In the year 66 AD, the revolt against Rome started. We're talking 30 some years after resurrection. That's after Jesus. But the synagogue here existed. This is one of the main synagogues. By the way, when Scott and Junior were at my place in February, I showed them another synagogue from the time of Jesus that was just found. There was a big flood over there. You remember, we all swam into it to get there. But yeah, there was a new discovery that was made 8 months ago. Right over here. Again, that this is the city, but you have villages around it that sustain this city. So in the year 66 AD, I'm going to take a sip of water, sorry. You know the story about the pastor? I got to pause for a second. You know the story about the pastor who buys 6 crates of wine from the Galilee and arrived to the States, and the customs says to him, do you have anything to declare? He said, no. Nothing? No. What is that? Mineral water. I got it from the Galilee. Really? It's not mineral water. Can you open one? Sure. He opened it. The guy took a sip and said, that smells like wine to me. So the pastor goes, he did it again. I tried it once. It doesn't work well. Back to Gamla. Sorry, back to Gamla. So in the year 66 AD, there was a major revolt of Judea against Rome. Now we need to understand, just to put a little bit of perspective, Judea was one of the strongest and most powerful province in the entire Roman Empire. We're not talking a tiny little province in the backside of the empire that nobody cares about it. Caesarea was one of the largest cities in the world. Same thing goes to Jerusalem. The temple was the largest religious structure in the world in the 1st century AD. Judea was one of the most powerful and richest nations in the world. Why? Because everything that comes from the east has to go through Judea. Everything. So, trade, taxes, right? So when Judea revolted against Rome, we're talking a very strong country, very strong. What happened was basically the revolt was divided into 3 main sections. The first one was between the years 66 and 70, which was the destruction of the Galilee. Then the year 70, destruction of Judea and the burning of the temple. And then 73, destruction of Masada. Anyone here ever heard about Masada? Raise your hand. Everybody heard about Masada. Who ever heard about Gamla before you came here? Raise your hand. Now we're going to learn how PR plays such a great role. In the year 66, as I said, the Galilee revolted against Judea, against Rome, and Vespasian came here with his son Titus and besieged Gamla. Gamla was the largest city in the north part of Israel. Jewish city, 100% Jewish, not combined, not like Tzipori. It was 100% Jewish. Now, if you look down, that was a huge city. Look at this. Let's go back to that hump. You see the hump? From the hump, take a straight line. That's one wall. To the tower, the round tower. From the tower, go to the left. The entire mountain, all the way down, all the way to that tree over there. It's the wall. You see that? That's the eastern wall of the city. You see that line going down? From that line all the way to the back, where that shiny spot is, at the back of the mountain. You see that? That is the size of Gamla. The entire left side of the mountain is one huge city that is built like terraces, like steps. Okay? There's that tower that you see right in front of us. That big round tower was the biggest headache of the Romans. Why? The road that you see beneath us, that's a brand new road that was made by Israel National Park Authority. It was not here in the time of the Romans. The actual path to Gamla was the path that goes right underneath me, right here. And when Vespasian tried to attack Gamla, he couldn't do it because anyone who reaches to that point across from that round tower will get shot. So he couldn't get here. Water, not a problem. You have 2 ravines underneath you. Food, abundant, not a problem. This was a major point of trade. So what happened was that this city was a symbol of heroism for the Galilee. And for almost a year of siege, the Romans couldn't take it. And then one night, in the middle of the night, 3 Roman soldiers came to that tower and basically undermined the foundation of the tower. And they put hooks to the tower, and then they yanked it, and the tower fell down. Once the tower, that round tower you see right over there, once the tower fell down, the main point of defense of the city broke. The Romans started to bring their battering ram and besiege the city and broke the wall. If you look down next to the synagogue, it's hard because it's hazy. Next to the synagogue on the left, there's a breach in the wall. You see that? That was made by the Romans. The Romans breached the wall. And on the first night, they actually stormed into the city. But then the Jews trapped them because the Jews said the same as they took down the tower, we can destroy them. And they went down in that night. They went down to the ravine down below and undermined the entire city. When the Romans came in, the Jews pulled the foundation rocks from the left side of the mountain, and the entire city came tumbling down, slided on the Romans. And it killed almost the entire legion. So the Romans came back to their camp, waited for the next morning, and then launched an attack again in the morning. At that point, the Jews saw they have no hope because the city is in ruin anyway. They ran to the top of the cliff. There was a small citadel up there. And 4,000 men, women, and children jumped to their death from that cliff down below, not to be slaves.
Oh, wow.
That's the story of Gamla. Some of those refugees found their way to Masada. Everybody goes to Masada. Masada was a fort, not a city. Masada's story is nothing compared to Gamla, but Gamla affected Masada. Okay? This is one of the most important places, I think, in the world to understand. First of all, understand Jesus. Second of all, understand the revolt and understand Masada. When you will be in Masada in a few days from now, you're going to have a completely different story of what's going on over there. All right? Masada, everybody knows about it. Why everybody knows about Masada?
They made a movie.
They made a movie. First of all, yes, absolutely. This place was discovered in 1967. It was under Syrian control until 1967, not under Israel. Masada was under Israel since 1948. So when the Israelis wanted to find a role model of fight to the death, protect your freedom, they knew about Gamla, but they had no idea where Gamla is. So all the focus went to Masada. So today you're going to see 10,000 buses in Masada. In here, nobody. But in terms of importance of understanding of the climax of 1st century AD, Gamla is 10 times more important than Masada. 10 times. And here, by the way, again, you can come and say this is one of the earliest communities of the followers of Jesus. Right here in the synagogue, right underneath us. Tomorrow you'll be in a synagogue that Jesus preached at. How do we know? Because that synagogue was destroyed in that revolt in the year 66 AD. So there's no other layers on top of it. That's it. That's the layer. So you'll be able to touch the actual rocks and to see the actual benches that Jesus sat on. We know that for a fact. Same thing goes to Gamla. Next time, not this time, when you're going to arrive here, that's a 5-hour schlep. It doesn't look like it. It's a mega schlep. It is, trust me. So next time we can go down there. You're actually going to be in that synagogue. That is a huge synagogue. It looks small from here. No, it's not. It was actually a major synagogue of the capital of the Galilee. And you'll see something very interesting tomorrow in Magdala. When you look down, you see a big square. Where is the women's section? Where is the men's section? There is no.
Wow.
None of the synagogues from the time of Jesus and a little bit after that have any kind of division between men and women. It doesn't exist.
Wow.
And even the Bible speaks about it. Because when Jesus healed Mary, Mary went to the synagogue to cast away the demons. All right? And he was associated with women. There's no separation. I mean, Martha was with him. You know, we know that. We read the scriptures. So that understanding of separation between men and women is a much, much, much later addition into Judaism. Much later. It wasn't like that during the first century AD. Question, folks.
What brought it in?
I'm sorry?
What brought
There's a lot of assumption what came in. One of them actually is a Greek understanding, because if you look at Paul's writing, is not the best when it comes to women, Paul, and also Muslim. Don't forget, this place was under control for almost 1,000 years by the Muslims. So there was a lot of infiltration from different religions, pagans, Muslims, and some from Greek Orthodox. Yep.
From where?
Greek Orthodox Church. Yep. Questions? Okay. Yes, thank you.
How many could fit in the synagogue, do you think? Like people?
Well, I would say a few hundreds.
Really?
A few hundreds, yeah. That's a big synagogue. That's
wow.
I mean, if you try to compare it to our size, from where we're standing, it can be from, let's say, from the edge of this cliff all the way to the edge of that cliff. That's just the width of it. The length, much bigger. The length is it's huge. That's a huge synagogue. Yeah. Other questions? I do want to point something out. There's one truth, and the truth belongs to God. That's it. But the Bible says the Bible is correct. Anything that we are trying to find new colors and new understanding and new nuances, that's interpretation. So you can agree, you can disagree. That's the basic, by the way, of every Bible study. If you look at Jesus, what did Jesus do when he taught the disciples? He used a very Jewish method. What did he do?
Parable.
Huh?
Parable.
Parables. Government's still doing it until today. Nobody understands what they're saying. What else did he do?
Questions.
Questions. Do you ever notice why we have so many Jewish lawyers? Jews can never agree about anything. If you have one Jew, you're going to have 3 different opinions. And I don't even think I'm right on that one. So, asking a question is something. I remember when I gave lectures at Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. When I finished the lecture and I said, any questions? Complete silence. And there was a room of like 80 students. Brilliant seminary students. I told them, you guys want to tell me that every single one of you agreed with every word I just said? Of course not. Please argue, because steel sharpens steel. And if you look at... כן, 5 דקות אנחנו עולים למעלה. תודה, they're kicking us out. Thanks. They're right. When you ask questions, if you ever go to a yeshiva or a university in Israel, it's mayhem. Debates and banging on the table and yelling at each other. Not out of disrespect. It's not out of disrespect. What's that? I mean, look at our Knesset. They're basically throwing chairs at each other. A bunch of crazy. But this is how we do it. This is how we learn. We debate. You have to ask questions. Because the minute you ask a question, you undermine the authority in front of you, but not in a bad way. Because you come with a question that the other side didn't think about it. That's why the entire Bible is full of questions. Jesus asked questions all the time. Who do you think I am? You saw it today in Caesarea Philippi. So when we start to learn that, when we start to dive into this, we get to understand more the depth of Jesus' teaching. But what I said before, I want to just summarize that point. When I'm trying to teach the Bible, I teach it from my point of view. You can say, you're right. You can say, I completely disagree with you. And it's absolutely fine and great. Because again, there's one truth, and that truth belongs to our Father in heaven. That's it. Everything else, we can debate, we can argue, we're going to have lunch after that. That's great. That's how you should do it. Right? So other questions or other remarks or other thoughts, please. Yes?
I do have one. It seems so clear cut when you're explaining it. And I guess it's like anybody, but for the Jewish people not to believe in Jesus and to know what he did and how he fulfilled everything, that's still mind-boggling. I mean, I have many Jewish friends that back in the States, and I don't ever want to offend or say something that I shouldn't, but that's a part I just don't understand.
There are a lot of Jewish denominations. It's not like if you ask in Israel about Christians, oh, they're all Catholics. Really? Same thing. There are a lot of Jewish denominations. I mean, there are denominations like mine that we believe Jesus was a prophet at first and will come back as a Messiah. We accept the resurrection, but the difference is the cross. It's a huge difference. There are some denominations who will tell you Jesus never existed, which is crazy, but okay, you know, everybody has the right to be wrong. But you know, there are Jewish denominations who are Messianic, but they're Jews. They're 100% Jews, but they're Messianic. So they will accept the Trinity. So they will be closer to Christianity, which is the same tree as Judaism. It's a continuation of Judaism. They grafted in, but it depends which denomination you have. In the States, people know about the Orthodox, they know about the Conservative, they know about the Reform. That's basically it. In Israel, we have about 25 different denominations. Just my village have 3. In my village, 1,000 people? We've got 3 denominations. We never agree about anything. But yeah. Yeah. Other questions? Yes?
Did the people from Gamla who went to Masada, did they continue on as believers and share their faith? Or did they, because of such a horrible thing that happened to their city, did they walk away from the Lord?
I think this is a question that it's only under assumptions because we don't have anything in writing about it. I think that the people who followed Jesus followed his prophecy of the destruction of the temple. So I think that a lot of them kept away from the Roman, saying, we know how the story is going to end because Jesus told us. So let's not go there. Now, the people who fled from Gamla to Masada were the children or the grandchildren of the students of Jesus. Because that's 30 years after resurrection. That's not immediate students. But that understanding of the rabbi of the Galilee renounced and stayed in the Jewish community deep into the revolt, because Josephus Flavius speaks about Jesus. And Josephus is 30 years after Jesus. One of the reasons why we know so much about the revolt is because of Josephus Flavius. And when you go down this path, you'll see these big slabs with writing on it. These are the accounts of the siege that was written firsthand by Josephus, who was here. He was on the Roman side, but he was here and he wrote exactly what happened. So I think that Masada definitely had some people who believed in Jesus. I do, but I think that the major communities stayed away from the revolt. By the way, the big outcome of the year 70 AD was not the exile of the Jews. That's not it. The big outcome of the Great Revolt was the destruction of the temple. Jews were still here. Only after that, the year 132 AD, was another revolt called the Bar Kokhba revolt. That is the one that ended up with the exile and extermination of Judea and renaming Judea to Palestine. It was under Hadrian. Hadrian is the one who did it. By the way, we're not the only fortunate that the Romans did to us. Anyone ever heard about the great kingdom of Dacia or Dacia? No?
In Illyrium, part of
Illyrium
and all that?
Yes, and Wallachia, do you know Wallachia and Dacia?
Wallachia, that's Romania.
Yes! Romania, Rome, us. After they destroyed Wallachia, they changed the name to Romania. Exactly right. Yes? So, Judea, Palestine, to give us the shtach for the Philistines. Nothing to do with the Palestinians today. There's absolutely no connection. This, but this year will explain to you, not that, not you. Other question before they're gonna kick us out with sticks and stones. We're gonna jump from the cliff. Yeah.
The distance from Gamla to the
Sea of Galilee?
About
a half a day walk. Easy walk. It's an easy walk. No, you start in the morning. Let's say you start when crack of dawn, 6 a.m. By noon you're there. By the way, another thing, just to give you a little bit of a taste. Every time I go to a church and I see Jesus on the cross, you see this little skinny guy. I don't think so. I think Jesus was pretty buff guy. I'm not kidding. He walked from place to place. He walked with wood, with stone. He was a strong man, right? Again, think about it. You know, it's just. He was a handyman. He was a tecton, not a handyman, not a carpenter.
But I mean, he did was
Physical,
right?
yes,
Physical.
of course. He did physical work. He tossed the booth of the money changers like this. Other questions? None?
We agree with everything you said.
Oh, that's not a good thing. That is not a good thing. All right, yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, Gamla, the biggest, we knew about Gamla. We know about Gamla from other accounts, but Josephus is the oldest account from that time. We knew about Gamla in memory. And we also knew that Gamla was built by the Hasmoneans. It was built by John Hawkins at the 2nd century. So we know that Gamla existed, but the story of what happened to Gamla, that's just
Is that the
okay?
Where is it?
Is that the time? Let's go. Where's the tower?
Where do you see the
Straight down. The sun is right in front of us.
The little white
Straight there, you see that round tower?
The round tower.
Yep. See that?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, go to the middle, you see the big synagogue. You see it with that yeah. Go from the synagogue to the right, you see the wall comes up, ends in the tower. See that round tower?
Okay.
That's it.
I'll see it in the picture.
Yeah.
You mean that square right here?
You see the round? You see?
And then there's I see a square.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
What's that square thing?
That's the synagogue, and it's not little at all.
Oh.
It's not little at all. We're just far away from it, but it's huge.
I thought it was like a, like a train.
Remember, he's only a half a day walking.
Train?
Me, I'm a day and a half.
Okay, and then
I use a donkey.
Now, where did you say was the round?
Go from the synagogue.
Okay.
You see the wall. See that?
Yeah.
Walk on the wall up, you see a round tower. The sun is right in our face. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about way down in
No. Way down there, there's nothing. It's remains of the city. That's it. That's the tower that they took off. Which you see, it's right across. You see the path?
I thought that was it too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyone?
okay, now I see this.
Anyone who walks on the path.
And then go up that white thing.
I'm not sure.
Oh my goodness.
Am I not seeing the right thing?
I'm going to send it to the group. I'm going to send a picture of the synagogue. So
That would be great.
The synagogue. I think we all got it wrong. Well, there, but then that square thing right there.
Yeah, that's square. That's the synagogue.
No, that's right then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
It's because there's the tower.
Yeah,
and
that's
then the
destructed, and then that's the synagogue.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I think everybody's been asking, and then they get confused.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
It's right there. It's right there.
But they were not passed away. Like.
You're somewhere there. I don't care. Never talked to you. Yeah,
He was a cultural guy. Yeah. Of course. When Martin. Wireless microphone.
10 minutes.